Same rules, 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes includes question answer. Please be professional, nice. Everybody has worked hard on their projects. The questions are not supposed to put down any group, so ask good questions. All right? So,
This is our workshop workload app that we've created, and this is the look at our splash screen. Let's see if I can advance that.
just use the arrow keys.
Yeah, that's what I got going. Doesn't seem to want to advance it.
You're on the recording. You have to go to the other screen.
My bad. My bad. I didn't realize you had two screens there. So. There we go. Okay, as far as job assignments, Kevin was our superhero leader and visionary back-end expert. George was our project idea man. George works in the field of shops and creating products based on work design. George does CAD and other stuff to design products and then works in a place where our app would fully work. Dylan was our front-end contributor and inspirational leader. And then I did front-end and odd jobs, flowcharts, and other stuff that we could come up with. And then in the world of large and even small shops, paperwork can be a real problem. Coordinating the work that goes with it can be a real chore. Has this ever happened to you? Oh, let's see if it'll let me play my media. It won't let... Oh. It's only showing it as an image, unfortunately. There's a little bit of wittiness in here to try and keep things flowing, but that's actually a video.
So I go?
I can roll with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can roll with it. Basically, I'll narrate the video to you. Basically, Mike Wazowski comes out, says hello to our friend Jalubi here, en route to the office that hands out or distributes workflow, in this case at Monsters, Inc., but in our case it would be a shop where they make components, the likes of which we'd like to distribute. And basically he gets in trouble for not having his paperwork, and paperwork affiliated with jobs is a real problem in the industry that, that Kevin and George are in. Problems our app attempts to solve: lost paperwork, job time tracking, job priority list, current status of any given jobs. Some members of our team walk football fields 2 to 3 a day at work. I can't reference that video. I don't think it'll work. But basically it shows a football player running and running and running. And I made mention of the fact that Kevin doesn't have the benefit of speed or pads, but all day he covers a distance of 2 to 3 football fields just to do his job. This app would essentially end Kevin's football career and allow productivity to take over. This is a real problem in workshops and factories all over America. Some of the main technologies we utilize were Firebase. We use the Cloud Firestore, Firebase Authentication, Firebase Cloud Functions, Cloud Storage, and Firebase Hosting. In the case of our app, it's very responsive because all the calls are from the same technology. This you might have seen before, and we haven't deviated that much from it, but this is a flowchart of our app functionality as to how jobs are displayed, how they're called, what they do. And then now for the demo. Ready, Kev? Right. I think you can just minimize that screen over there.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's all on the left side.
You could actually minimize it. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So you guys have seen a lot of this on Saturday.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go. Just put in one of Daniel's passwords here. One of the issues that George and I deal with on a regular basis is, like Eric said, losing paperwork, not understanding the flow of a product. So I mean, when you give guys a hunk of steel and say, "Hey, turn this into, A or B, turn this into something new," it doesn't just, it doesn't go to one station and you do one thing and it's done usually. it means it's got to change. Sometimes as many as 15 hands before you go from A to B. Hunk of steel to finished product. And the problem, if anybody's played the game Telephone, you know what happens when things change hands a lot. Things change. So the idea was to create an app that would kind of take the telephone aspect out of it and help kind of keep things straight for the administration of the shop. So we took the liberty here of making some parts. This is the admin page, if you guys remember. There's a couple different things that you can do. It's a pretty logical progression from creating a part to creating a work order, which is to say a job that says, hey, I need 15 parts, and that starts the ball rolling, getting it to go from station 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, or if you're a true coder, from station 0 to 1 to 3 to 4. It's a good one. So we've got a few parts here that we've already made. We'll go ahead and open that up. Whoops. Okay, I pressed too hard. I know that now. Okay, so these are 2 parts that George went ahead and drew up in CAD. When you need to create a part, you just come over here. There's a real simple form that lets you choose a file off your computer, and it uploads that to cloud storage for Google. So that's actually in the cloud. You can pull it down on your phone, on anything, and it'll take just about anything. You add stations that your part is going to go through, right? So it might go from grinding over to what else is in here? The cold saw, and you can add. It might go from grinding to cold saw back to grinding. You can add multiple stations to one job. We're going to go ahead and clear that out because it's not a real part. Once you've created a part, it shows up here in the View section. You can edit it, delete it, or you can go ahead and view the attachment. So let's unblock this pop-up. For all the times you visit our site, Daniel, that won't happen anymore. So this is an example of like a job sheet you might get. This is a drawing of just a simple bracket, right? Shows where it gets bent, at how many degrees, gives you some company info, stuff like that. And you can put a PDF as large as you want. So usually, in George's work, you would get like a stack of papers that they would staple together, and you get a guy go to the first thing, he's going to do his job, but then the second guy has to go through 15 pages, grab the next thing, he might pull it out. So there's a lot of loss of information as you go along. This attempts to remove that loss. Okay, so once you've got a part, you can go ahead and create a job. And here we've already created some jobs. Jobs are pretty simple. So you get to choose your part from a list, right? You put in the quantity that you need, some notes, if maybe you're going to make it out of a different grade steel or something. Submit those, and away it goes. So here we can see each part gets a unique 4-character identifier, so that if you have multiple jobs with the same parts and the same quantities, you can know which is which. So, and then over here you can manage your employees. You can create and remove admins. Pretty straightforward here. You can't create, nobody can log on to the system and just create a login. You actually have to be created by an admin. So this create employee section is only available to admins, and then they would give the employee their login information. Okay, so that's the admin page. We'll come back to this part. It'll make more sense after we look at the employee page. So let's go ahead and log out and log back in as an employee. The employee gets a different page here. So okay, I keep looking back there, and there's one right here. There we go. Nope. Okay, So as an employee, you show up. It's going to give you your name, just so you know which. If there's multiple stations that each have a computer or a tablet or something, you know which one you're signed into. And you're going to come up here and you're going to choose your workstation. So I believe that both of our jobs were currently at the laser. Yeah, here you go. So if I'm employee send and I'm working on the laser today, I might choose like, oh, well, I guess I'll get started on this bevel washer. So you go over to it, hit the start button, and it's going to show you what part you're on, start a timer for you, and tell you how many parts you've got. And if you've forgotten what you're doing, you can view the attachment here. That'll show that same paper we saw before. It's easy to stop a job partway through. So maybe it's lunchtime, and you say, oh, I finished 3 of the 5. Say I'm done. And now you know that you've got a full order of 5, but you only have 2 that still need to be done. And also the notes say the part rules, so that's a fun fact. From there, you might come in and actually finish the job. And I don't believe that job has any more stations to go to after the laser, so that job's done now. Away it goes. Now, let's go ahead and show this one. Show that we're going to finish one of these parts, and we'll go back over to the admin page and show you the last little bit here. Please choose a quantity between 0 and 0. That's a feature. It's complicated. It's a real high-minded app. Hang on. That's not right. Let's restart this bad boy. Let's put in a new. That might be left over from when we were still working on stuff. Pretend like you didn't see it.
We're thinking of him terminating employees.
Yeah, he's not very good at his job. Well, we'll just pretend like that actually works. We can view the history of this one, though. This is pretty good. So you can see that employee sin was on the laser. He worked for 18 seconds and finished 3 parts. And the total time that this part has been in production is 18 seconds at that point. Again, employee sin comes over. He works for 23 seconds, gets 2 parts done. That finishes the job. And the total time for the job is now 41 seconds. So as an admin, it lets you see, like, hey, how long has the employee been working on this? Is he taking too long? Is he doing really well? Where is this particular order at in production? Is it almost done? Is it almost ready to go to the next guy? It really gives you a good rundown of where all your parts are. And I think that's it. I think that's everything it does. Did I miss anything?
Split.
Oh yeah, the split's kind of cool. How much more time we got?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Before your time. Let's see the split thing.
Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new. I don't remember how which part is which. Which one had 2 operations? Form plate?
Yeah.
Cool. We're going to make 100 of these in a very short amount of time. So we put in a new order there. And that's not going to show up just yet. I think you have to come back. There it is. This one right here. Okay, so let's log out and log back in as an employee because that's fun to watch me type, right? Get that right? Yeah. You know what? Why don't you just stop asking? Okay. So here's that's a different one. Where are we at? Where does it start?
Laser.
Laser? The laser beam? Oh. Okay, see, I had that backwards. Forgot where our part goes. Okay, so we've got 100 parts, and in 2 seconds we finish 50, right? Now, if you've got 50 parts done, you might not want to wait to finish your next 50 because, presumably would actually take longer than 2 seconds to finish 50. You might not want to wait until the 100 are done to move them on to the next station. So the idea here is you can take whatever you finished and give that 50 to the next guy, and now you've got 50 remaining at your station, and over at the grinder, what's the next one? Press brake, that's what it is. Over at the press brake, whoever's working there now has 50 of your original 100, right? So you've split the order. And the cool thing is, is that say over here at the press break we've got 10 jobs, and this form plate is at the back of the list. So you sent 50 over, but employee wasn't able to get to it yet. And in the meantime, you finish your next 50. So you go ahead and finish this job. So you're done with both 50s. If you go over to press break, fingers crossed, you see 50 and 50. Was it press break? It is, right?
Yeah, it's right.
If you go over to the press break, you will see a glitch. Man, that was working earlier. It should combine into 100. Well, apparently it was more complicated than I gave it credit for. Man, I swear that was working. But there's still 50 and 50. There were no parts lost. It's just still split, so technically that feature still works. That's backlog. Now I think we're done. Yeah. All right. Okay. There you go. So, questions?
I work in something where we do the same thing. There's a lot of like handoff, not so much as this, but in my job, I have to write a whole bunch of reports. Have you guys thought about how you would do the metrics coming out? Because you guys are capturing a lot of good information there.
Yeah, we've thought about that. The problem was the time constraint not just to get the information, because we've got it, right? You can see who did it, how long it took. There's enough data there to get averages for each employee, averages for each part, and to store it. Unfortunately, we just didn't have time to actually.
I was talking about future. Like,
yeah.
If you guys continue to improve, like, have you guys thought about
that? Was going to be one of the things we were going to implement on the admin page, so that the admin can look at any individual employee they want and be like, all right, well, this person's performing, making a certain amount of parts in an average time of blank, whereas this employee might be a lot slower, or new or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean that opens up a lot of possibilities, because you might say, oh well, it takes Kevin an hour to do 50 of these beveled washers, but George does it in 30 minutes. I need to go see what George is doing and teach Kevin how to do it that way. Or when beveled washers come up, I need to take Kevin off that station and put George in, because I'll get twice the productivity. You can have a lot of insights there. But yeah, that's something we considered, and it'd be cool to have it ready for demo day.
So at this point, you guys have basically two personas, one admin and one employee. I mean the presentation. In real life, is that the case? Like you had different jobs, like a laser, brake press, and all that stuff. Is one employee doing all of that, or they're like individual are assigned to somebody that, oh, this is your station laser, that's all you do the whole time?
It depends on the size of the shop. So
Yeah.
the smaller shops that I've worked for, some employees will be in charge of up to 3 different stations depending on what the workload is for that person. But typically you want to have a dedicated person for each workstation. So if you have a laser operator, you want them to stay there and keep the laser running, but if they're short on work and they have a surplus of parts at the press break, you want someone that's flexible that can jump to that other station to help out.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, does it make sense to have a workflow defined? Like, okay, right now I log in, other than the admin, there are two different workflows, I get that. But any employee logs in, they all see the same thing. But it makes sense to have different, okay, for you, this is what you would see, like from the 10 options, you only see like 2 because that's your job.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's one of the things we just kind of didn't get around to implementing. Because, yeah, ideally, if George doesn't know how to use the laser, you don't want him to have the opportunity to think that, oh, well, I guess that's part of my job. Yeah. Ideally, you would be able to limit what they can see. And honestly, it wouldn't be that tough. We're just focused on other stuff.
The idea, I believe, was that every station would have its own tablet. And as soon as you go to that station, you just log in on that tablet and then choose that station, and that'll bring up any orders that you have to do for that station.
Yeah, that's a workflow by station. Yeah, that will also work.
Yeah.
Instead of employee, put it on the workstation, whoever logs in.
Yeah.
So now this seems to have a very practical solution in industry you guys work. what would it take to pitch that idea and say, hey, I have something and start using it? Is it practical enough or not?
It is practical enough, and my employer actually is interested in seeing it if it works and we can get it going. They've even talked about what it would cost to implement something like this. So it's something that is practical.
Make sure you remove the other two names and
Right.
George? You wouldn't though, would you?
Would I say it in front of everyone if I was going to?
I don't know, Daniel. Kind of
You're
smells
pretty
like
brazen.
sushi here.
Any other questions? Yes. Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
Full screen is on
Present.
Cool.
Top right.
top right, next to your share.
Yeah.
There.
Cool. You got it.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Hi, everybody. The 3/4 of us made an app called Looking for Jobs, and it's in the title there. Your job search improved, and purple is the color that we went with branding. So, purple shirts. Yeah. Yeah, it worked out. So this website, as it says here, it's a job board aggregator, has actionable tasks, and it improves the job hunting skills and results. So ideally, you guys could all use this afterwards since we're all in this trying to find new jobs. So we want to do something that was really useful. So the front end, we used React. Pretty self-explanatory, we all had to, but it was very useful when we had to have the website update live and all that. Yeah, I'll switch to you guys. You guys did the authentication. Let's do that.
Yeah, in authentication we used Firebase so that we could register and log in people, and also eventually we wanted to make sure that it interacted with our backend. So we want to hit next there.
Also, a lot of input from Kevin. With that.
Yeah, Kevin, the helpful guy. This was one of the APIs. We actually, Andres was looking for all sorts of different APIs that we could work, as well as try to scrape, but
You guys know from Monster, you know from Indeed, you know from
Yeah.
yeah, I guess they don't take students requesting their API. So we got a USA Jobs API that actually works really well.
Worked.
But it's only government-related jobs that you'll be able to search for here. Eventually, as you'll see, eventually in the demo, we're looking to expand that. But then the next technology, MongoDB. This is what we would use to track the tasks that you would have to do, or notifications whenever you apply for a job. And I'll explain a little bit more about Mongo's role in a bit.
Demo
because-
time.
Let's go to the demo so you guys can actually see here.
It's on the left if you end the, yeah,
All right.
and then it's on the tab.
Yeah. All right. So this is the app we came up with. I'm sure it looks a little bit different than what you guys saw from our previous presentations. We really kind of,
like doing these last minute.
yeah, we did. A lot of hours went into this for sure, but essentially we have the home screen where you can just directly search. We have our authentication here. Yeah, ignore that, styling wise, but yeah, you can log in, and I'll just go ahead and do that right now. And then cool. So we're logged in. It tells us welcome. Now, right now, the only thing that we have going when you log in is that you're able to see the About page, which if you click on it, you'll see our team members, and we have our GitHubs here, and kind of an explanation of who we are and what we worked on. But back to the home page, this is where we can go ahead and search for jobs. So what it really takes is just a position you're looking for and a city or state or whatever. So we can just do something like lawyer, and then maybe we can throw California in there. And when you hit search, it'll hit the API. It'll replace the little briefcase icon there, and it'll replace it with all the different results. And it'll tell you right now what the position is, and also the branch of government that you would be applying for that particular.
That's really neat right now. The U.S. Postal Service, all those mess ups that they had during the breakdown.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and you can pretty much do like, I don't know, fire and firefighters, stuff like that. It'll just automatically update the results here for you instantaneously. And then, yeah, you can hit apply. It'll open up the website, USA Jobs. It'll give you a bigger breakdown, like the salary, all of that. But yeah, that's kind of the main implementation of the site right now. Now, for what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish is have the ability for you to apply. It would ask you if you would like to track it. And the tracking would really just allow you to keep tabs on the jobs you've applied for, and also it would give you notifications on following up on certain jobs, doing certain tasks with your resume or cover letter, etc. But we had a bit of issue implementing the Mongo thing, so it's not here. But ideally, where it says welcome, you would see your name or your email, and there would be like a little notification symbol, and that would take you to everything that you've applied for, and you can manage everything from there. But for the MVP of the actual app here, this is it, and it's working. And yeah, this is it. Cool.
Questions?
So I have a couple of questions. So,
yeah.
So what does the team do? Who worked on this UI versus backend? Who was it backend?
Jump between all of us.
Yeah, it was pretty much a mixed effort. I think I probably had the most time to work on it because these guys were busy, and so I worked on like the logo, the branding, and putting a lot of the React links together. Fernando and Andres kind of worked on the API and the authentication part of it, and I kind of helped there as well. So it was just kind of a combined effort. We were missing a teammate, so but yeah, that was kind of the split there.
This is the industry, the topic you guys took. There are a lot more sites. Right?
Totally.
So right now this is good for MVP. I get that.
Yeah.
But do you guys think, what if you guys had to take it to investor or some real life product, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you think you want to implement that will set you apart from Indie, Monster, Blast, or whatever happens to this versus?
Yeah.
That task list that we want to implement.
Yeah, essentially, like the vision was that this on top
what
of
does the task list do again? What's the task
So
list?
basically, the task list is like a notification and follows you as you apply through the application. So as soon as you hit apply, you'll have a list. Like, did you submit a cover letter? Is your resume up to date, well enough for this application? And then it'll follow you. A week after, like, did you get a call? Yes, no. And then it keeps following until the very end. And also reminds you, send a thank you letter for at least having them look at your application and saying, thank you for considering it.
Yeah. So yeah.
So that's probably what you would have put behind the scenes, like that would have been your login.
Yeah.
Maybe like even like a online portfolio that you might be able to share with somebody. Yeah. Your actual resume.
Yeah. I mean, being able to have all that implemented ideally would be like the value add that separates us from the other guys.
The hardest part for me when I apply for a position is that every one of these is going to require a completely different, like, whether it's Indeed or Monster, whatever, they all have a very different list of things that they want for you to fill out in order to actually apply to the job.
Mhm.
If you think about how you might be able to like make that, like when I click apply here,
Mhm.
not actually redirecting, but possibly submitting all of my information.
Well, the other kind of backlog item would be like a employer side of it, where the employer could actually go into this and create the job posting natively on the app. So that means what they would require would be pretty much uniform from job to job. So ideally, that would be the way that employers could interact with it. So that way you're like just go on, filling out the same information and maybe changing some things here and there based on the job. But that was kind of like a backlog item that we had in our mind.
Thought it would be sweet though if, like for this, you could just literally click apply and it would submit your information for you.
Yeah, like if you like
If they
saved
gave you,
it.
let's pretend hypothetically that they gave you all API access to all of these things. Your profile could be submitted.
Mhm.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, totally.
So in the future, if you guys are like super, you're like, oh, this is my project, I want to see it happening. I would suggest talking to people, friends or colleagues, and say, hey, what is something that you guys miss on the normal job site? Like, what is the pain point over there? And try to, like David has one.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are more people.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go to Indeed, and I don't like this. Try to come up with it. That would be, if you guys are really interested in making it.
Yeah.
Just copy and pasting your cover letter 1,500 times.
Yeah,
That's
just the
Just like the
annoying,
blast.
right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it'd be great when you click apply if it just automatically could.
No, yeah, that would be like the perfect world. I know there's like some situations where like employers just don't make it easy, and so forcing them to use the application versus using their site natively and us having to redirect it, there's kind of that give and take there. But that's definitely something that we all thought of as a back end item. But yeah, I totally do.
If you guys are refining the search, how do you decide which ones will pop up? Do you just take everything, or is it within the same parameters?
It pretty much so it's based on the API's queries that you can throw in there, and it pretty much takes anything that is a word as far as like a position goes, and a place.
The reason I ask is
Yeah.
let's say I'm using Indeed to look for a job. Common problem that I have with Indeed is like it'll send me notifications for job posting for like a senior level developer, which obviously is not something that's on my resume or anything like that. So
Okay.
I don't know why I would send me something like that or offer me choices to apply to jobs like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha. So pretty much just refining your results,
Yeah.
like based on what you're looking for.
Yeah, realistically, we could add more search queries
Mhm.
because right now we're just doing keyword and location. But I mean, if there was like like maybe salary would be one to differentiate between like a senior level developer and like a junior level developer.
Yeah.
Or like industry, like whether it's technology or whether it's manual labor, things like that.
Yeah. And even like another kind of a backlog thing would be adding like an extra button next to search where it's like advanced search, and you can be like only match strictly this, junior developer or senior, whatever you're looking for, and that way whenever you're just searching for things, it's just hitting those exact keywords every time. So yeah, totally. I mean, that'd be the ideal thing there.
Do you have a question? Yeah. It's kind of building off of theirs. So in my experience right now, I've been applying to multiple cities, but it usually only takes, like Indeed only follows like my last search. Being able to create multiple search brackets, so I can search New York, DC, California, Texas, and be able to like select those and get notifications based off of those when the job is applied in that area. That would be really nice.
So like separating it by location pretty much, or state, or however you want.
Well,
Subscribing to all those 5 locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
notification
and
bars.
you can change it. I could be looking for a web developer in DC, and then also like a C# developer in DC as well. And
Yeah.
it would be the same location but 2 different jobs.
Kind of like
Okay.
MLS search for homes.
Yeah.
Like you're describing.
No, yeah, totally. That's some good feedback too. I didn't even think about that, and that would definitely help out for people looking in different areas. Just being
There's a
like,
lot of potential on this project if you guys see it.
yeah, I mean, we got a month, right? So,
Give some time.
but yeah, I mean, for all the complications that we had, we just wanted to have like something showing up and working, and then now making all the connections with Mongo and Mongoose and calling
From the very
back.
beginning, finding an API was actually way more harder than I thought.
Yeah,
Because all the job search websites, I thought they were going to give us their API for free, but
nah,
they
yeah,
didn't do that. So
it was like a week burned.
Most APIs proprietary.
Yeah,
They
you have to
really-
apply for them.
They really want to know, okay, what's going to be your exact foot traffic of your website? I was
They're
like,
asking how many people are using your website. We're like,
and who is this
What are
for?
your
What's your company? It's like, we're just students.
Yeah.
For the project.
In a perfect world, they would have given it to a student, but that's we got rejected by like 6 of them, so we burned some time there. Oh.
That was the idea.
It's like an order too.
Yeah, it is.
Almost. It's messed up.
Oh, let's scroll next. Oh, okay. All right, so go well. What did you say? You.
I was talking to an audience member. Oh, okay, so I'm Will.
I'm Olga.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Roy, the old dude, I guess. Don't watch Game of Thrones, so I was thoroughly confused on this. They had to explain it.
Pretty much.
Aaron killed you according to this.
By your brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
he did.
okay, that makes sense. All right.
Alright.
How do I get to the next screen? Oh, there we go. So, Olga?
No, you go ahead to the next slide, and you can do the description.
So,
Our app is broken glass!
yeah.
Just don't actually shatter anything right now.
I don't know. So, the point of this is kind of be like Glassdoor, but for the service industry, so that people who are like bartenders or servers or whatever can read reviews about their potential employers and see reviews about like management and pay type and the customers and whatnot.
Motivation. So, like 5 years ago when I was working as a bartender in New York, this app was all I could think of when I was looking for a job because I had no idea where I'm like going because I could not get any kind of feedback on the place like where I'm about to work and I really wanted to know about the pay type and how much money I would make and what kind of management is there and how safe it is and stuff like that. So when we were discussing our final project, I was like, let's make that app. And I am definitely going to send this to a bunch of my friends in New York so they can just go crazy on this. I actually interviewed a couple of places already.
All right. Nope, the buttons stop at that point. Spam all the buttons, see what I get. Doesn't go further down.
There you go.
Yay! All right. So the technologies we used was a lot of fun. So one of the challenges for us was, in fact, using a lot of different things and different technologies. We used the standard MySQL with a SQLize. That was our stack. So we had a CERN stack. From there, we Postman obviously to test. Adobe Illustrator. The authentication we used was called Auth0. It's a full workflow that does both authentication and authorization. Then on top of that, we used React Google Maps, which also utilized Recompose. That was very interesting, having stateless functions with state. That was a very interesting thing to do. One of the biggest challenges for the front end as well was the boilerplate we used wasn't the standard boilerplate we learned here. It was another little bit more advanced boilerplate that really used Redux, used Redux Saga, used a whole bunch of extra technology we didn't know, weren't able to use half of it, some of it. Learning what that was really fun. Now I had a whole list of fun technologies to do. We also did Redux. Of course, we used React, styling components, React init, and then we deployed using Heroku and JawsDB. And scroll. Or don't.
Yeah.
All right, so for the team efforts, on my part, I handled the infrastructure of bringing up the API as well as the app. We decided to separate them so they weren't one project. And after bringing them up, getting them to communicate. After the infrastructure, I also handled the authentication workflow as well as the Google Maps integration.
Me and Will, we work on a back end. We actually, entire time, we work together on setting up models, APIs, testing them, and Postman, stuff like that.
And I was the front-end developer. I worked with the boilerplate, Redux, React, style component, React. So it was a bit of a learning curve since I'm more of a back-end developer and I really wanted to challenge myself for the front end. So it was a lot of fun, but a lot of stress and beat my head against a wall.
Actually, you also did the styling. We forgot to mention here.
Yeah. And this, yeah.
Like all the design.
Some of the challenges, bringing up the stacks, that was really fun, and getting them to talk to each other. My challenge personally was getting the Google Maps using Recompose. That was the biggest challenging, and get it to communicate with us effectively.
And then just as I mentioned earlier, just understanding the boilerplate code and the design workflow since I'm more of a back-end guy.
Olga and I ran into some issues with the APIs. We had trouble joining our tables with SQLize, and then we kind of forgot how like a post takes the body and a get takes parameters in Postman, but we figured that out.
Okay. Let's go up. And let's go with here. So this is our application, Broken Glass. This is our home page. From here, we can search any kind of restaurant that we're looking for. If we're looking for what? Oso?
Whiskey Row.
No.
I can't see what I'm typing.
You can look at the screen next to you, right?
Shh. They don't need to know that. Okay. So from here,
so it loads in a map that will show all of the whiskey rows located within the area that you're looking at. And when you select on one, it'll actually load up down below. This is the reviews for it. So it'll give you Dirks Bentley Whiskey Row. It gives you the employer rating from our database, what other people have rated it as. It tells you how many people have rated it and what the current rating is. Plus the Google rating, which is more of the user, like the customer side, that they say this place is 3-star, there's 1,800 reviews. And then inside the box, you can see there's a display for what the actual review said and what they talked about in there.
Notice here we don't have anything. We can't post any review. We can't do any of that just yet. So we're going to go log in. This is the Auth0 workflow. So it brings up a wizard. Are you auto signed in to Google?
Yeah, I'm auto signed.
Let's use you. All right, here's where it's going to ask for permissions to access your email and other things like that. So, Daniel, you want to give us permission? All right. So we have his profile now. Anyone else want it? Starting at $50. So no. So we are now logged in under Daniel, and now we can also do Whiskey Row again, or do we want to do Oso or anywhere else? Kabuki. All right, how do you spell that? Kabuki. Kabuki.
Which one is it?
That one.
That one?
Tempe.
That one? That one? That one? Tempe? All right. So we got Kabuki. You guys got 4 stars, 868 ratings on Google, and no one there has reviewed. Why not, man? Come on, post a review for us. All right, so here we have the options to view more and to actually rate it yourself now that we're logged in. So if we go to rate ourselves, a little modal pops up. From here, we can select, what's your job? Everything. All right, so
Just bartender.
bartender. All right, where's bartender? Bar.
There. Up.
There we go.
There.
Bartender. And tips, salary, hourly, commission, tips. All right. You feel comfortable with your pay? All right, we'll make some stuff up here, I think.
What is the 3-5 options mean of the average shift? Like, what is one?
So it's a rating and then a comment next to it. So
Right.
we
So-
rated.
So what is 2, like, 2 is bad?
Too bad, yeah.
It's a scale on the back.
What?
We can add some clarity in there.
Mhm.
Right. And then most importantly, let's go with a 4. All right. And
So hypothetically, you can say I hate my manager right around here.
yeah.
So
You can.
That's the point, right?
Yeah, the entire idea is that there is no user information on here that is displayed, and the reason why we do that is because we don't want like a company to go on there and see a bad review by Mike and go, all right, Mike, you're out because you're an ass. Goodbye. We don't want to have that tag, so we actually have it on the back end where there's a user ID that gets associated with it, but it's never displayed, and it just says that this user rated this company.
Now, if you make your comment, hey, this is Mike, yeah, that's on you.
So it's like rate your professor kind of thing. See how your employer's going to be before you interview.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there is no app currently like that. Glassdoor doesn't really have any reviews for like restaurants or bars and stuff. And there is a lot of people in service industry, and they are looking for some feedback.
Some of the things that we want to do future improvements on. Right now, we got the base app working to where you can leave reviews, you can search by companies, you can see what people have done. I actually was talking to my family, and they said that it would be great to see, like, I can't remember what to call where you rate things online. What is it called? Yelp. See Yelp reviews in there for like the user standpoints. We also want to implement a profile page where you can see what companies you've rated and how it goes and everything. So if you ever want to edit something, you can go in there and edit because it's only allowed one user a post per company.
I was going to say, it's probably it'd be really cool if there was like an API for, let's say, each individual business where you could actually have the manager's name populate, and then you could rank that asshole as a 1, you know? Because if it pulled their information.
That's dangerous,
You know?
I feel like.
Yeah, we have to toe very cautiously in this because there is, like, you can get sued for slander and everything like that, and since we would own what they post out there, there would be a big legal issue as to what information we actually display.
So it's one name that's secured for one posting for that site, right? For that company, I guess?
Yeah, so you log in and you take that ID, and it just basically associates your ID with the rating, but that's the only connection on the back end, and it's just so we know that you've rated that company. Yeah. Well, it's how you log in.
But I mean, like, someone created multiple accounts, right?
Well, yeah. There's nothing I can stop about that. If you have several email addresses that you want to use or a Google account that you want to use, there's nothing we can really stop you.
No
from
app
going.
can stop from
Well, I'm
that.
sure I'll zero checks to make sure that the pre-existing accounts are in there.
Right. So it has to be an existing email.
Right.
Or like in this case, you had to authenticate with Google. Google says you're a real person. Nothing's stopping you from going and creating more Google accounts, but
Right.
yeah. So effectively, you will.
Nothing is stopping me reviewing Kabuki also and fired by some other restaurants. And I can only work at one, right? Let's suppose I'm only working at one, but I go to other restaurants. Mess it up.
Yeah, there's things we want to be able to incorporate as a company. When you go in here, you can challenge a review. So if there's a bad review out there, you can challenge it, and then we have to go in there and basically identify, like reach out to the user, did you actually work here? We will never, the idea is to never give the company any user information about it. So they have to be completely separate.
Yeah, a mark for spam kind of thing.
Right. So do you guys know how does Yelp or Glassdoor kind of cater that issue? Like how do they say that these are, or Amazon, that these are like real reviews from real people?
Well, Amazon, I think Amazon put in that "Are you a robot?" stuff on the reviews, which could be something fun.
Yeah,
Yes, but
purchase history against you. You have to be logged into comment and then say, oh yeah, you did go back and purchase this.
And it has to be shipped and delivered before you can leave a review. If you try to leave a review before you can get
But
it.
this would be somehow verifying it.
Yeah. I think Glassdoor has the problem because there's actually jobs out there now for your public view on the internet and everything like that, where they actually have to go in there and leave good ratings and stuff. Because it's the same way. Like, what's stopping the company from going in there and saying, leaving a whole bunch of good ratings, trying to get people in, even though they're crappy. So it goes both ways. So trying to figure out how to best balance that is kind of, you just have to watch it.
Yeah, there's not going to be one golden bullet for that kind of issue. So it's going to be an ongoing issue that we'll always have to struggle with. There's always going to be a way to get around the system in some way. But
Yeah, I was going to say it might be easier to just do this based on LinkedIn profiles. You search for your boss's name, you can rank him like a one. I don't know. I'm thinking like.
Really
so
into
yeah,
that.
what's up with your boss here? Like,
But I'm just saying, like, it's if we're worried about slander and things like that, like, I'm just. We remember ranked by professor. Before college, you'd actually find out if the teacher was rated as a good professor or if he was just shit. And there's reviews as to how the professor was. It might be a better idea instead of doing per restaurant, per manager that works there.
We could very well do something. We could very well put in there where on your profile you have to say that you work from here and you have dates in there and stuff, so we know that you were an employee of there. So that way we can actually get the ranking in
I
there.
wonder if you could scrape like a LinkedIn, like our just LinkedIn profiles.
How many
and
people
rank-
on LinkedIn put in "I worked at McDonald's"? Just asking. How many people think
Hundreds of thousands.
It's online, should it not be?
No, keep it.
My biggest question with the app is I get like the basis of the app and why you want to do it for the service industry and all that, but why not extend it to everything rather than just services? I mean,
Well,
if anything,
We're just trying to fill that gap.
in reality, it can be extended to everything. I mean, if you can search it on Google Maps has an ID and you can rate it.
Do Hub Group.
I was just saying like
Hub Group?
Yeah,
Hub Group.
I mean, why limit yourself?
My company. Let's rate this thing a 1. Let's go. There it is.
Hey.
If you all want to know where I work,
Oh, it broke.
No, I did Mac stuff and then stuff happened. I pushed buttons.
Right, that seems real smart what you were saying about like, hey, like you have to work here. You have to show that you worked here a minimum of 6 months.
Oh, you
And if
want
were
to
working
show your
here,
age?
you can't work somewhere.
Do you want to show your
then
age?
you can actually limit how many users. They only get so many votes.
put ones on everything and just put batting all the comments.
You want to put it?
Yeah, that's a pretty good middle ground to say, you know, if I worked in old someplace, you know, if I only worked there for 3 months, can I really give a review that's expensive and whatever? Remember there's 6 months, and I can't go back and review Jack in the Box because well, I was at McDonald's for so what do you want?
Yeah.
Then people's votes start to matter because they can only bash so many things.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it around there. And you'd have to do the same thing for like the managers or the companies coming in. They'd have to validate as one company, and it would go back and forth. But you have to be able to see. The legal aspect is still trying to keep the employees from the employer.
Right.
I'd hate to slander one business over one bad employee. You know, that's
Well, that's why. Well, that's why here would be more
Your boss kicked your dog.
Hey, Dave.
we see
you up.
a little more.
You have to put in
Put
the
the
job
finger at
title.
the bad guy when it's
They'd laugh if they saw it.
They would laugh.
Yeah, they would laugh, and then kick me out.
Right now, I don't think we have the prevent in right now.
For which one?
So prevent multiple.
Yeah, we got the check working on this weekend for did this user put in post before, and I didn't have time to implement that.
Yeah.
So
Don't make changes at the last moment. We stopped that.
Yeah.
So last 2 questions. So the map I see, how did it only shows Phoenix? I just typed, you guys just typed in the business, right?
Yeah.
So right now it just defaults to Phoenix, but there can be, it has ways of just defaulting to your clinic location. But yeah, you can scroll all over the United States. It's just right now it's defaulting to Phoenix.
And what would it take to like production ready meaning out there?
So some API coverage from the adding some authentication to the API coverage. But really, one thing that's really cool about this project is that Auth0, from what it is right now, is production ready. Everything is protected and secured in jobs and everything like that. The workflow is all there for production ready authentication. For it to be really production ready, we would probably need an admin screen, something to be able to control and alert on spams, be able to control users in some way versus just giving them free reign like they would have right now. So that would mostly like be the elements that are missing from production ready. But our authentication is, I'm really happy about that. Auth1? So Auth1, when I was looking it up, it had the full suite. You can make custom rules. You can do so many things that once you get into the production environment, that it's going to be extremely handy. You can really control users from there. They have a very generous free base. So you can have 7,000 users, unlimited logins for those 7,000 users. So that's their bottom tier free base. So it's a very generous item. They give you everything you can use. They have rules. They handle authorization. So you have authentication and authorization. Who are you and what are you allowed to do? It also handles like third party, so scopes. What can a third party access? What can a third party application for? We just saw the application that was going on right before ours. What we could do using Auth0 is what is their app? So we want to integrate with them. Say they want to now do, you're just looking at this job, you want to apply for a job here. We can direct them to their application. And if they're asking us, what are they allowed to do? We can have them auto log in on their site as well, and then give them credentials. They are only allowed to do this on our website. So we can control what third-party applications do. We can control what users and different roles from users. It's a massive platform that already exists that handles so much work for you.
There are that many developers in the world. That many types of developers in the world.
One zero.
Oh, I get it.